At Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in May, a newcomer came from Atlanta to vanquish the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup field. But it was no fluke. Todd Lamb would go on to set a record. He's won 7 straight times. He's left the field in his dust. And today, Lamb straps in going for an unprecedented 8th straight victory at Virginia International Raceway. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia. Coverage of the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup. It's the finale weekend in 2009, the Oktoberfest doubleheader. Today, the first of those 2 events. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin. Elliott Forbes Robinson joins me for the call in just a moment. And Derek Bernasiglio will have our coverage in the paddock and on pit road. It's been an unbelievable season of accomplishment for Todd Lamb out of Atlanta, Georgia. He comes in here having won 7 straight races in this very tough professional series. He'll go for a weekend sweep here today and tomorrow. But the real story, the driver who led the championship for much of the early part of this year, Mark Miller. He's been set back to the back of the pack on the start due to a rules infraction. Derek's standing by with his story.
Thanks, Rick. Mark Miller originally qualified in the 6th position, but after qualifying, the SCCA relegated him to the back of the pack after a disqualification. And Mark, what was that disqualification for?
Well, what we did, Derek, is we put a little piece of vinyl on the top part of the air intake, which there's plastic backing behind it, so it wasn't really a performance advantage at all, but it just made the car look nicer. It's kind of one of those situations where we did something without asking, and instead of saying, hey, you need to pull that off, they decided to put us in the back instead, and you really can't fight with them, and you know, we're going to start in the back.
In a 45-minute race where you start up front, you have some time to settle in. Is this a situation where you have to go right from the start?
Yeah, I think more than anything, we're going to have to avoid any incidents and get through. And this track, there's a lot of drafting opportunity, more so than any other track, believe it or not, that we've been to. And we've got a really good car. I mean, I didn't even show everything we had in qualifying because I just couldn't get the lap together. But it's a great car, handles really well. So I'm actually pretty confident that we'll end up front, but we're probably going to need a lot of luck to get there.
Now, Miller's team VIR, Elliott Forbes Robinson, has protested the guy who's dominated the series.
Well, I sure understand it. When a guy's dominated so much, you got to feel that there must be something going on.
Team VIR protesting 4 different facets of Lamb's car. The AMG guys having to pull that car almost completely apart. After all was said and done, Lamb's machine found to have a clean bill of health. He'll start up front, and his crew chief is pretty pleased.
I really wasn't worried because I knew the car was perfectly legal. I'm just really happy now that the other people have to live with this, that we are legal.
Does it bother you that it almost seems like there's a rivalry going back and forth? It started off as friendly, but now it seems like there's protests going back and forth, and just seems like maybe there's some tension between the teams.
Well, it's part of the sport. You know, when one team starts to dominate, you get very frustrated. In the past, another team has dominated us, and we were very frustrated. So I totally understand where they're coming from. It's just part of the sport. You just have to, it's part of the game. You have to deal with it.
And Elliott, the margin in these spec series is so tiny, you've really got to watch everything.
Well, you do have to watch everything, and it's amazing that Todd Lamb has been able to pull this off this year.
Lamb has all but clinched the championship. He has a 28-point lead over Mark Miller. Miller has to start from the back today in this first of a doubleheader weekend. He's got a mathematical shot at it, but realistically, Lamb takes the green. It'll pretty much be his championship. Todd Burris returns to the series. He'll start in a team car to Lamb on the front row in that 14. Ara Malkasian, one of his best efforts of the season, and Lionel Kent looking strong out of Tennessee in the 13 car. He'll line up in the 4th spot. Justin Piscatell in line perhaps to be the Rookie of the Year in the 89. Nick Mancuso from the Chicago area in the Lake Forest Sports Cars entry. Zach Ply in the 27. Mark Jenkins out of Texas in the Traxxas 25. He'll line up back alongside Ply. Row number 5, a couple of first-time starters today. You've got young Ryan Ellis out of Virginia. Dennis Bizet from New York City. He will go in the 10th position. Rest of the field, Dean Copeland and veteran Tim Probert. Max Riddle, a newcomer, and Chris Brown. Brian Audet has run with us a couple of times this year, and Richard Pikett in the 55. Mike Vitarelli and Al Caiola from New York. Randy Hale from Connecticut. Manny De Silva in the 09 car. Laura Olson making her first start in a while, and Michael Rossini. Mark Miller and Jeff Mosing really struggling back in 24th spot. Before we go green, let's get it down to pit road. Derek Bernasiglio here at Virginia International Raceway.
And right before we go green, a lot of the drivers and the crews were talking about alignment being an issue here today. They like this track a lot. This is a very fast racetrack, but the quick way around requires going over some of the rumble strips in the corners. And when that happens, the cars bounce across the rumble strips, they bounce up in the air, and the alignment goes out. The toe goes out, and the car doesn't track very straight. So every time the car comes off the track, the crews are doing a toe-out check on the race cars to make sure that they're tracking straight.
Boy, it's going to be tough that way because these guys do drive over everything out there. There's no doubt about that.
And VIR, Elliott, one of those places, it's not really wide in some locations here. Coming to the green, look at this. They go 3 and 4 wide down this long front straightaway. Underway with round number 9 of the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup season. As we look at the leader, Todd Lamb, heading down into turn number 1.
Yeah, and this is going to be a track where teamwork does work because you have the long straightaway. You have places where you can really draft together. Uh-oh, we got somebody off right into turn 1.
Contact working their way through turns 1 and 2 here. Todd Lamb and Todd Burris, 1 and 2 in the 2 AMG machines. And then you've got Aaron Malkasian right behind, along with Justin Piscatel, as the Alara entries start to fill in behind the 2 leaders.
Good to see the Alara entries doing good and having them up in front again. It's only been actually Piscatel up there for that whole team, and now they got most of the team up there. Good move there.
Todd Burris, his first appearance in the series this season, taking the lead away from Todd Lamb. You got a lot of hungry drivers, I think, today, Elliott.
I think you've got a lot of them here. Now we're coming to the best part of the track, up the S's. This is probably one of the best track places in the whole country because it is a rhythm section. You've got to get it right. These guys will run over the curbs, but it's going to be just short of flat out in the car all the way up to the top.
So Burris is leading. That's the car we're watching. Right behind him in second spot is Todd Lamb. Burris out of Florida in the 14 car. A couple of car lengths to the good now. Pretty fast section of the racetrack here.
Boy, it is a fast section. Now we come up to the slowest section right here at the Oak Tree. Important to get around this corner and not drop a wheel, because if you drop a wheel, there is a big drop-off at the outside off the curb, which will damage the car.
Field starting to shuffle a little bit behind these lead cars. Todd Burris and Todd Lamb running 1-2 right now. Burris with about a 3-car length advantage. Lionel Kent out of Tennessee, Elliott. Best showing for him in a long time, 3rd, and he wants more.
It does, and it looks like he's going after Lamb to get by Burris right at the moment. I don't know if he can do it at the end of the straight. Burris is holding the outside, and he's got the inside into the tight turn by doing that, so he wasn't able to do it.
Now the 2 AMG cars continue to run 1-2. Todd Lamb, the series dominator, going for 8 in a row here today, out in front by a couple of car lengths. Todd Burris out of Florida running 2nd. Lionel Kent up to 3rd, Malkasian 4th, and Justin Piscatel settling into 5th position.
It looks like those 5 are making a breakaway right at the moment. That's going to make it tough for everyone else because it's not easy to get back up to that lead group as we've seen before.
Now on the front straightaway here at VIR, Elliott, a very long straightaway. It has a bend in it. It's not perfectly straight, but you can really see the effect of the draft here.
Well, you can see it, and braking here is really interesting because the normal line is to go wide and come into the corner as you saw Burris do. But you have to take a little bit defensive line if you want to hold the lead, so it makes it a little bit tough for the guys.
2 AMG cars, 3 Alara cars make it up the top 5. There's contact back over in turns 1 and 2. Looks like Max Riddle from Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada, off the racetrack. He will get his AMG car, the 6, back on the race course, and we will continue under green. Leaders, meantime, heading toward the backside. Todd Lamb with a couple of car length advantage here. The Alara entries line up right behind. Early in the going, 1 lap on the board, working lap 2 at VIR. Our coverage of the Playboy Mazda MX-5 Cup being brought to you today by Mazda. On any given weekend, more Mazdas are road race than any other brand. Our coverage also being brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. And by Playboy Magazine, for the ride of your life.